This podcast exists for one reason: to give voice to the stories that society wants to keep quiet. The ones about betrayal, broken systems, and the courage it takes to survive when everything falls apart. I'm Andrew White, and I've lived that story. Workplace bullying nearly killed me. It shattered my health, my identity, and everything I thought I knew about leadership. Well, today's guest, Gavin Patterson, knows that same darkness. A dedicated police officer who served with honour, only to be targeted, isolated and destroyed by the very institution he swore to protect. In part one, Gavin exposes the dysfunctional and narcissism that broke him, but we also dive deep into the root causes of mental health, something I'm really passionate about. You know, how our brains respond to trauma, the role of nutrition and epigenetics even, and why understanding the science can be the key to healing. Anyway, this is part one. Please subscribe to the channel, give us a review, please follow the show. Love you guys. This is Leading Our Own Way. Here's Gavin. Welcome to Leading Our Own Way. I'm your host, Andrew White, and this is the podcast that unveils captivating narratives of resilience and personal triumph. This podcast is for anyone seeking inspiration and insights on overcoming life's challenges. Follow and subscribe, and then we can lead together forever. Gavin Patterson, welcome to Leading Our Own Way. Before we begin, I'd like you to put the next 75 minutes or so, we're going to go down a big journey with you. I connect with you because of my journey. We're not in the same field. We never have been. And probably some of the things you've seen is far worse than I have. But our topics relate pretty closely. If you could put your journey, what we're going to hear tonight, into a powerful, a simple sentences or even words that has been your journey, what would they be?
Being involved in one of the most toxic, dysfunctional workplaces, bullying constantly every day, losing trust in your peers and meant to be your managers, that turned into being ill health retired, and then hitting a trifecta of loss, which was personal, financial and physical, but then hitting rock bottom, absolute rock bottom, where I was in such a dark place. The only thought that crossed my mind quite often was taking my own life, but hitting there, rock bottom, and now bouncing back, and here we are, talking tonight.
Beautiful. Gavin, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me on my journey. It's there's out of the 80 odd guests that have been on the show so far, there's been maybe 4 or 5 that correlate and I suppose run alongside my journey. And when I talk about my journey, sometimes I feel it off of the people that it's just you just didn't get along with some people, and that's okay. That some people don't really know the depths that we go through. We've been told, maybe you have been told to man up, get on with it, but people don't understand what we can go through as a colleague, as an employee, as a friend, as workplace bullying, because it's fucking real, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing worse when it's personal and it's targeted. It's very different to like anything in general. Like you might be in a group setting, but when it's every day with people you work with, it hits harder.
It really does. I'm looking forward to diving pretty deep with you, and I know you'll share your vulnerability. So first of all, thank you, Gavin. Thanks for joining me on Leading Our Own. It's such an honour to have you. And how are you doing anyway?
Yeah, good mate. And I must reciprocate and say it's actual honour to be here and being asked to be part of your podcast. And it's I know you're kicking goals, so mate, it's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate that. It's I used to start off by saying if we could just help one person, I'm happy with that. But you know what? I've changed it. Somebody said to me, fuck that. I don't want to help one person. I want to help millions. And you know what? It's the truth. I really do want to help a lot of people. Look, obviously, if it does help one person, I'm totally happy with that. But I love to help loads of people from these. And I know our vulnerabilities and our safe spaces tonight, having this conversation, will help loads of people, because we can guarantee people listening to this, if it's not them being bullied, there's somebody in their life that will be being bullied at work or in their family life, isn't there? It's a guarantee.
Oh, absolutely, and it can happen in the strangest of places too. You could be at a sporting club, or it could be at work, or it could
Yeah.
be even out in public these days. You
Yeah.
just don't know where it could hit you.
And us, us men, confident, outgoing, and you look tougher than me, but people think it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen to people like us, but it really, really does. We're not going to go into that part of your journey, because the show is called Leading Our Own Way. I like to start off in a really positive way. You are leading your own way in many different ways at the moment, some beautiful ways. I love it, but it's over to you, really. How would you consider yourself as leading your own way?
Oh, wow. Now I'm leading my own way by recognizing my own self-worth and having my real purpose now, I believe,
Yeah.
and recognizing other people who treat me poorly and just not accepting it.
Mm.
But just saying, no, that's unacceptable, and being honest with them and saying, well, no, you can't treat me like that, and I don't like it. And yeah, just moving on with and being authentic to who I am, what I stand for, and also, yeah, building trust with the people that are worth building trust with.
What was that clicking moment, that ticking? Was it a ticking bomb? Was it? Again, I know I don't want to do too early into that part of your journey, but where was that pivotal moment that really got you to start thinking about those boundary settings towards other people, or even to yourself?
About the what? Sorry, it was a bit hard to hear then.
Oh, sorry. Like, what was that ticking moment? That change, that pivotal moment of where you just mentioned about setting boundaries for yourself, and that's a way of leading your own way. What was that moment where you go, you know what, this isn't happening anymore. I'm going to put those boundaries up to protect myself, or even just to look after my own mental health.
That took a while, but there was my last day actually at work was the worst I've ever experienced. We were in a meeting, and I got to a point where my manager was talking, and I heard the voice, but something literally snapped in my brain, and I had almost like an out of body experience. I could hear the voices, I couldn't process anything. I just
Yeah.
couldn't compute what was happening, and it was almost like a voice said to me, "No, this is it, mate. You're done." And
Mm.
the meeting ended, and I went back to my desk, and I looked at my computer, and I could not read anything. I couldn't process. It was almost like my my mind was in neutral, and I'd like stopped functioning, going, "No, dude, this is not cool. You shouldn't be here."
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
yeah, that was the last day at work, and it was literally what's the term someone used? A mental fracture.
Yeah. Yeah, mate, totally. People know I've shared it on the podcast, but my ticking moment that correlates lines with that journey was when went grey. My eyes came over, and this person had gone for me for the last time, and that's when I like put my hand on a table, smacked it, didn't punch it, didn't throw it, didn't throw anything at the person, but I smacked my hand down on the table, and I just verbally went, but I don't, to recall even what I said. I can't recall it because
Yeah.
that build up of months, years, whatever it may be, it's weird, that flicker you switch, because I feel insane when I talk about that. But when I hear you say it, it makes me feel normal, that it was real. For those who are watching on Spotify and YouTube, there's plenty of images behind Gav, but I'm also going to show a picture because I'm sure people are wondering the workplace. But the clue is pretty clear. Talk to us a little bit about what you did before we do touch on the other things of how you're leading your own way.
Yeah, so I had 22 years in the police force.
Mm-hmm.
My last 2 to 3 workplaces were all specialist units. That photo you just showed, I was part of a critical incident response team. So they attended critical incidents involving sieges, hostage situations, extremely violent offenders, or any jobs the local police, it was out of their skill set. We would be monitoring and we'd attend. So we were highly trained in the tactical policing side of things. Also did close personal protection for VIPs and politicians and visiting dignitaries.
Yeah.
And also we had the trained hostage negotiators cell within that unit as well.
Yeah.
That was one of the workplaces. Then I ended up being in an undercover role, which was a covert job in the technical surveillance unit. That was installing and retrieving technical surveillance equipment, such as listening devices, tracking devices, all those sorts of things. So yeah, we could be in the shopping centre one day and in a house the next day, and could be dressed in all sorts of different clothes, looking like a businessman or a tradie. So,
Oh, wow.
so that was a pretty cool job. Probably one of the best jobs in the police force.
Yeah, and
Um,
I absolutely love this picture, Gav. To not to cut you off there, but I'm holding a picture
yeah,
of him
that was
with a
part of the
gun.
critical incident team.
Yeah,
So obviously we have
fantastic.
to do a lot of firearms and weapon systems training. So and also being able to be camouflaged in amongst whatever the environment is we're in. So
Yeah,
um,
and it's the police force. It's and all the different areas you worked in. It's one of those where, again, you need to be able to trust the people you work with,
yep,
because if you're in a particular position, um, it's like what Simon Sinek talks about. I don't know if you know who Simon Sinek is, the leader guru. He always shares about examples of the Navy SEALs, and it's not about it's the people who it's not terms of the colleagues. You've got to be able to trust them. You don't have to be the best performer necessarily, but you've got to be able to trust them, and you've got to be able to trust them with your life, trust them with your wives.
yep.
And if you don't go into the battlefield with them. It's that simple, and it's bizarre that even because we talk about that with teaching, right? It's all about connection. It's all about setting examples to the children. It's all about being the highest, best possible version of yourself. Yet it happens. Same in health, I'm sure. And the police force blows my mind.
So those two workplaces I mentioned, you need to get into both of them. You need to go through a pre-selection. So it's not just you apply for it and you get a job. So there are pre-selection programs that you got to go through that involve a lot of psychological testing, physical testing. Then that's just to get on the course. Then you have to do the course. Then you've got to pass this course, and then you can apply, or they'll accept you into the role. So that's not for everyone. So usually everyone that meets the criteria for those jobs are of that ilk, and yeah, they know it's teamwork is so vital and important, and you need to trust everyone. So those workplaces were fine. And
Oh,
it was maybe I was so highly trained in that area that the other workplace where that was toxic,
yeah,
the people there weren't as highly trained or qualified for those roles. So, and it wasn't that my expectation was higher of them or I expected more of them. It's just, yeah, I think it was just the quality of people that were selected, the interview process and how they went about that was flawed right from the start.
yeah.
I was trying to set a high standard and trying everything that I'd learnt in the other units to help and lead and guide and mentor, but yeah, for some reason it was just extremely dysfunctional.
It, it's crazy that you say that everybody has to be trained to be a good person, though, right? Do you know what I mean? You know where I'm coming from? It's crazy that we have to pass a test to be test our loyalty, test our the ability to work. But clearly it does. Yeah, it seems like it was detrimental to you. Again, before we go down that road, there are other things that you're currently doing. I know you're doing many wonderful things with some of the things you're building and writing about at the moment. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing in the present moment of your life.
Oh, like you said, yeah, there's so many things happening. Probably one thing I started that was actually really beneficial for me to get me back on track and functioning again was I became a volunteer for an organisation called Mentoring Men,
Yeah,
where we mentor men who may have some just struggles in life, and it could be anything from a relationship issues to work to just not being able to cope with where they're at. So it's all volunteer services. The mentees, there's no charge to them, and the mentors provide their time for free of charge. So I wanted to give back to others and help them where I can in life as well, so they don't head down that dark path. So
yeah,
so that's one area I'm working with, and Yeah, it's going extremely well. I've had a mentee for probably 6 months now, and he's come ahead in leaps and bounds. And it's so rewarding to see someone improve and in all areas of their life, and just smile again. It's just so rewarding.
How do you ever dig into your life experience and some of the training that you had and to help those young men?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's everything my knowledge, experience, skill sets, it's all kind of come together. I think, even though I've been through some pretty horrible stuff, it's probably, there's a reason everything happens for us in life, I believe. And this has all come together. I think this is my purpose. And I utilize a lot of the training and things I've learnt, been taught to do, but also learnt and experienced through adversity as well as good things. Certainly helps me with helping others get through life.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, when I first left the teaching environment, everyone used to keep saying to me, "You should write it down. You should write it down." I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that. No." And then I did, and I kind of made a joke with my friend who was already a published author, a best-selling author, may I add, Mr. Mike Nichols, who's one of my first episodes that we did before I published my first guest. And we wrote the book How to Lead with Purpose, and it was very therapeutic for me. It was powerful for me. We collected journeys from other around the world. It was therapeutic for them, and I hope it's therapeutic for people who may read it. Hopefully, leaders can take away and go, well, if you can't live with purpose, how on earth are you going to be able to lead with purpose? Yeah. Have you ever written anything down? I know you've been doing a bit of a journey with books as well, which I love to get on here, by the way. Talk us a little bit about that journey, because I know that's been a part of a chapter of your life as well.
It has. It was really interesting. I never thought I would be telling my story or my experience that I've been through. One, on a podcast like this, but two, in a book that's now... I'm a co-author in a book called Start Over, Turn Any Loss into a Sensational Comeback, and that is up there. The paperback came out this week, actually, so I'm going to get a copy to you.
Yes, I love that. All of my guest books on here for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, but that was probably one of the biggest steps for me to take to actually process everything and figure out where I was at and to move on from things. Healing's probably not a word I use too much. It's being able to process it and go, okay, well, it's happened. I can't change it. How am I going to process this for myself to come out the other end of it? Mm-hmm. But one, writing it, but then two, the biggest thing for me was reading it to the other co-authors on a Zoom call. It's the first time anyone other than me or my closest family knew about any of that. So that hit home. It was pretty emotional for me to read it out. But after that, it was actually so cathartic and really helpful for me to move forward, getting that out there. Now it's in print and it's around the world. So it's actually, I think on Amazon hit #1 as a bestseller. So in some categories. So the whole idea of the book series is people who have been through adversity in life, for many, many different things that they've experienced, is get their stories out there to say, hey, if you're going through something, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and something in one of the stories may hit home with them and go, that's just what I needed.
Yeah. It's like you said before, though, like you speak to those co-authors on Zoom, it makes it powerful for yourself, and it's powerful for somebody else to hear. But then when you write it down, it's the next layer of powerful. And then when you get published, it's same with this episode. I said it, the podcast, I said it with a guest previously. I said, your life's going to change. It's not because of the podcast. It's not about leading our own way. It's the fact that you're doing it. And he couldn't see it. Anyway, the podcast was aired, and he got and he just told me this last week, over 300 messages.
Wow.
And we both cried and got upset. And he thanked me. I said, mate, I said before the podcast this was going to happen. I said, you don't understand the power in your journey and what you're doing for other people. You're teaching, it's there, it's beautiful, it's big for you, but there's something bigger for you here. You should be on stage. You should be talking to the world, because you could be changing. You are changing lives. And you must have felt the same, right? With just writing it down, even then the next layer of getting published and getting it out there, it's so powerful. And I look back and I wished I'd done it sooner, because I really think and that's the tip that we should be giving to people. Write your shit down. It will help. That will be the beginning, that turning point, that 1%er, and it will turn into a big percentage as well, won't it?
Yeah.
Is there any other part of writing journeys you've been a part of as well, or is it just the one book you've got? Because I'm sure you've.
Yeah, there is another one. I was hoping to have it finished and available now, but there's been a bit of a delay with it. This one I started actually a while ago. It's called Attitude Amplified: 6 Habits to Manifest the New You, and it's really just heading down the path of how our attitude can actually determine what we do, how we do it, how we interact with people, ourselves, and how important it is in day-to-day life or in work, if you're a business owner or if you're an athlete. So it was just kind of brain dumping a lot of things I'd learnt down, and there are other books I'd love to write. There's probably 4 or 5 others about leadership, high performance, even accelerated learning, which we learnt some of the rifle skills we taught using accelerated learning, which is hugely beneficial to people if they struggle learning skills. There's a way to improve the learning and make it faster. So that's coming online soon, I hope.
Beautiful. It sounds like there's a bit of neuroscience in there, because what you just said there about the mindset, it's neuroplasticity, isn't it? That what you put into the world, you can rewire your brain. Just because we're fully formed, just because we're adults, and everyone blames it on age, we're stuck in our old ways. I got people close to me who say the same thing. I'm like, no, you can totally rewire your brain. Did you incorporate some neuroscience into it?
Me being me, I got to a point I've gone, hang on, I was highly trained, and I had to make split-second decisions to save people's lives and make the right one and all that. How can my head now be broken, basically? So I wanted to understand, like, what happened? How did that happen? What happened? And how does our brain actually function? So I actually studied neuroscience, psychology, even went into epigenetics. So I wanted to understand, like, how our brains worked, how our minds worked, and are they different? Are they the same? And then the connection between the brain and the body as well. So I've learnt a lot about all of that. It's been extremely helpful for me to understand me and help me understand it all and move on. But also now I'm going to utilize that helping others as well.
And I think that is the prevention, isn't it? That is attacking everything, our mental health, whatever field, whatever darkness people have been going through. I think if we understand our brains, nobody understands our brains. I say to the children at school, I always ask them if their parents go to the gym, right? It's like a muscle. We have to rip it to make it stronger. We have to tear it and let it struggle to make it stronger. But you can physically see your muscles growing if you work out, right? You can see them improve over a period of time, and especially people who don't live with you will see it quick more than you, right? And I said it's the same for the brain, but because it's covered by skin, skull, and hair, we don't see it. We don't compute. We don't because it's not present in our visual. We don't think about it. It's just something that is, and we just accept it for what it is. But I really talk about that brain. I talk about the neural pathways. I talk about the synapses connections, the neurogenesis, the myelination of our pathways. We can rewire our brains to be able to do anything we desire or wish to hope and walk in that direction. And I give these little tasks to the children. I get them to remember a meaningless code. It's absolutely pointless. But they're so tuned in, because after I've taught them about the brain, they're already sucked in anyway. No matter what they've got going on in their head or at home, they're zoned in and they're focused. And it's the most boring. I tell them it's the most boring thing. I shouldn't actually be doing this, right? I give them this code and I tell them 3 times. And I use the wires as an example around the computers that are on the screen. I talk about the rubber being the myelination and the firing and wiring of the pathways, blah, blah, blah. You probably understand what I'm talking about. And it will be months apart, and they'll run up to me in the yard and they'll tell me the code. Weeks, months, days, hours, whatever, later, and I'll mess up their head and I'll interrupt them and I'll tell them the whole plan. And I said, you cannot tell me ever again that you can't do anything you choose to in life because I've given you the most boring code, yet you're remembering it. So it's not to convince them to learn all the writing, all the maths and the most boring, because they could have a boring teacher with no energy. They could have a boring subject with the most exciting teacher and they still don't understand it. It's about putting the mind in a position to try. And it's the same with our mental health. Yes, things might come our way. We're very stressed in life, but we have to be able to, I think if we can make our brain stronger from a root cause perspective, when things do go wrong, we'll be better prepared for them. We'll be more resilient. It's about allowing us to go through that hormesis, that strong cellular struggle. I've noticed little things that I've done in life. I know I've been rambling on here, sorry, but I get all crazy when I get into this stuff.
It's all good.
But you know what I mean? Like, I put myself through cold water. I got rid of certain things that are toxins in the body. Yeah. And I'm clearer. I have clarity. I understand my purpose at Devil. I became creative. I was never creative, right? It's little things like that. Are they some of the things that you've discovered in your own journey as well?
Oh, absolutely. And there's actually a link with the accelerated learning we did for some of the training with the rifles to the neuroplasticity, because we are building new neural pathways for them to learn. And then that's how we embed that. And then so it stays there. So when I started my study, I've gone, hang on, these two are connected here. So it was actually, helped me understand what was going on. But yeah, we can, no matter our age, you can have neuroplasticity and you can rewire certain parts of your brain. And then I've also now delved into the subconscious and conscious side of things and how they affect our lives. And way back when, is our subconscious still running a program that is there? So it's extremely interesting to understand that just because of who we are right now doesn't mean we stay that way. And we can adapt and develop and rewire our brain. And there's that old saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. And that's both physically and mentally as well.
On a side note to this, I think something you might see some of the books across the top. When I started to delve into sleep and to the brain, I soon realized I needed to understand the fastest way to our brain. And the fastest way to our brain, I believe, is through our stomach, our food, our gut. That is... Have you changed anything in that part of your life in terms of food? Because that food-mood connection, actually, the book's right there, the food-mood connection. Yep. I've really discovered the power of food, and I used to eat a lot of shit. My friends would laugh at me and go, yeah, you did. Yep. Have you ever delved into anything like that? I mean, you might not have done. It's not something we've discussed in the pre-chat, but is there anything that you've discovered in terms of food that relates to our mood and our personalities and stuff?
Yeah, so... I have done a lot of study over the years. So one thing I was getting into before all that happened at work was I had a master or have a master's in high performance sport. So part of that is nutrition and
there you go.
Diets and all that sort of thing. Plus having to go through the selection processes I did, we had to be extremely fit, strong and resilient physically to get through all the selection stuff. So it's always been there for me as far as that side of things go. But when I hit the hurdles, that kind of dropped off, and the alcohol came in, and so I've had to reset everything, and I've set myself a goal to be as fit, healthy, and as strong as I was when I joined those units. I've got another month to go. I'm getting close to my target. So
nice,
but it is extremely important because the gut is known as our second brain as well. So.
That's right.
People may know or have heard that term when they get a gut feeling. There's a reason we get a gut feeling. And they are connected.
Because if we give our body the nutrients that it needs to even just hit a homeostasis level, that cellular balance, if we can give everything it needs, baseline to be not even optimal, just to be, because I do believe we're all in deficit. Right, because everything that we're eating now, the lack of sleep, the lack of movement, spending 85, we used to spend 85% of our time outdoors. Now we spend 97% of our time indoors. So that's a huge shift of how humans used to live. But let's just say we are at a cellular balance. So we obviously the body wants to get back to balance right? Most of the time, it wants to be balanced out. But if we have all the nutrients the mind and body needs, there's a doctor called Dr. Tyra Swart, who's a beautiful neuroscientist. We're in communication. She's been on Diary of the CEO, huge neuroscientist around the world. We've been actually chatting. I shouldn't say that out loud, but I'm trying to convince her to come on the show. She's almost there. I probably won't help her like she can help me. But she talks about, there's a new book called The Signs, and it's talking about her partner who passed away, unfortunately, 4 years ago. But she's talking about taking that away for that emotional side of her. She's talking about if we can give the body what it needs to be homeostasis level most of the time, the body then can use the nutrients, the brain can use the nutrients that it's in excess to be able to think at a higher level, to access that intuition. So maybe there are other things that we can see and feel, that gut intuition that you're talking about, to maybe, whether it is to talk to other people that are not here, whether it is to be more creative, whether it is to access part of the brains, because we say we can't access it, maybe we just don't know how to, but it's there for the taking. I've started to really believe in that. Do you feel the same? Or?
Oh, very much. Yeah. The brain produces so many chemicals naturally for not only the brain, but for the body as well. And when it's out of alignment, it produces not enough or too much of one chemical. And a big part of getting that back in balance is the nutrition.
Yeah.
Huge part. Because if you're feeding it too many other like processed foods, etc., the body can't break it down. So then it has to produce other chemicals to break it down. So then, which is why we feel sluggish the next day after eating, too much of the processed stuff, or high sugar, high fat, high salt. It has a detrimental effect on the body. So keeping things in balance. It's okay to have that every now and then, but just not too much. Someone I heard the other day, actually, and I hadn't heard it put this way, that they said if you were to advise any 20-year-olds these days what to do health-wise, do not drink alcohol. Mm-hmm. He said, when you think of what alcohol is used for in the medical industry, where they use it to sterilize before they cut somewhere, or they'll use it, to sterilize other areas. So he said it's actually a poison.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 100% it is. And it's other things as well, like if we're willing to put things on our skin, the question is, would you be willing to drink it? Because it ends up at the exact same space. But as soon as you say that, they're like, I'm not going to drink that. Yeah, but you're putting it on your skin. It's ended up in the exact same spot. So I said to somebody, if you're not willing to drink it, probably don't put it on your skin. I'm not perfect, but I definitely am more mindful of that now. Again, side note, in your learning, in your study, did you ever go to a mitochondrial level? Did you go that deep?
Yep.
Nice.
So I've done some other study that I don't think came up in our pre-chat as well. At some point, I was heading down a path of, all right, well, what else could help me, and on a different cellular level, and I was introduced to it's called PBM, which is photobiomodulation. Mm-hmm. So it's basically laser, which there's red, near-infrared, and infrared laser that's used on certain frequencies to activate energy in the cells on a mitochondria level. Yeah. And it's to help the cells actually repair the body the way it's meant to do naturally, but it actually reminds it to do it, because sometimes the brain switches off, goes, no, I've got too many things to do elsewhere. So the laser introduced in certain parts of the body on a frequency can help the cells get activated and do what they should be doing naturally. And it also speeds up some of the healing. So I've actually bought one of the laser units, and I've treated myself and treated a few other people and tried a few things, and it's amazing some of the results we get.
Yeah. I remember you did sell it. You did actually say in the pre-chat about you studied the laser therapy.
Yep.
Yeah. It's bizarre. If you pluck your blood and look at the red blood cells, you'll see them, typically because we're not touching the earth anymore, we're all, in shoes and concrete and so on. You'll see the red blood cells kind of all lumped together. But if you pluck your blood after standing on sand, soil or grass for a period of time, do the same thing again, you'll actually see the red blood cells all spread out like eggs on an oily pan. I'm quoting Gary Brecker there, who's actually in Melbourne tonight. I don't know if you know who Gary Brecker is.
Yes,
1st of October. Yeah, he's here. I nearly cancelled you to go, but I didn't. I stuck with you, Gav.
Thanks, I feel privileged.
I would have loved to have gone. But he talks about that,
Yep.
Gary Brecker, and I find that fascinating. So ever since he said that, after I do my cold plunge in the morning, I go and stand on the grass, and
Yep.
I relate it back to being the beach. You always feel good when you come off the beach. Maybe
Yep.
that's why. You know,
There's a lot going on there. There is a thing called grounding, and
that's
it
it.
is
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
the skin touching the ground, or probably not hugging a tree. You might get some strange look actually hugging a tree, but but just contacting nature with your bare
Yeah.
skin is a huge beneficial effect. It rebalances a lot of things in the body. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do feel better, yeah, like you say, after you've been down the beach and been in the water on the sand.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff, and I've really got into that as well. I really find that fascinating how my mood is definitely. I just find myself more present for longer.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, wow, I love all that cellular level stuff. That speaking of cellular level stuff, I had Amelia Phillips on, who's the morning expert on the Today Show, and she was on a few months ago here on Leading Our Own Way. Fantastic lady. We went to mitochondrial level, part of the prevention of mental health, and we even talked about nitric oxide, how nitric oxide looks after our DNA and looks after our mitochondria. Kind of really need that nitric oxide levels to be optimal for our mitochondria to be oxygenated, and obviously to produce the ATP, our energy every day. And as soon as you put sugar or ultra processed foods into our body, those cells, those beautiful powerhouses, just become deoxygenated, and that's really the beginning, I think, of all of our problems: inflammation, cardiovascular disease, heart disease, strokes, dementia down the track, all of that. I mean, that's a whole different podcast, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Like the laser unit I have, it has preset frequencies in there, and I can scroll through screens. There are hundreds of different settings for exactly what you just mentioned. Hundreds of
Wow,
different settings.
really?
Yeah, all the
I
way
didn't know
from skin issues, psoriasis, and eczema,
Got it.
through to broken bones, tendons, ligaments, muscles. There's even some settings in there for Parkinson's and a few other ailments like that as well. So yeah, it's
Parkinson's is an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's obviously down to the, I believe it's down to the dopamine receptors being basically plunged with dopamine every single day for a very period of a long time. Maybe that's an example of replacing pleasure, maybe replacing our happiness with pleasure, and that's become quite detrimental, hasn't it? I think we're going to see Parkinson's increase, don't you?
unfortunately, yeah. So yeah, there's two things at play there: the dopamine and the serotonin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually, just as a side note, I do have another. It's a laser headset, and I've actually treated a gentleman with Parkinson's. We did it for 6 weeks just to see what response we get, and the tests we did at the start, and then the tests we did after 6 weeks, he was a different man. Different man. His walking gait improved. His standing from just seated to stand, and his balance was fine. His function with his hands and toes was incredible.
So what do you think happened there then for it to, would you say it's for, do you think it's been not cured, but reversed to a certain point?
It's basically reset the brain, and it works on brain waves as well. So we have alpha, which is lower and slower, and then gamma, which stimulates. So we had to be careful with when we put it on him and for how long as well. If he was in a heightened state, we'd have to slow it down, and vice versa. But it was getting his brain back into balance. So it's not going to cure it, but it will slow it down enough where his function and quality of life will improve. Long term, I think it's just one of those degenerative conditions that will be there until there's a lot more research done on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you, I know we're not medical experts in the sense that we can diagnose anything, but just your opinion, do you think we can prevent things like Parkinson's then? Rather than a cure, do you think we can prevent it if we change our lifestyles before a certain point in our age?
Well, the interesting thing for me when I started to research that was there's no true diagnosis of Parkinson's itself. There are just some testing protocols that are done, and if it fits within the parameters, they say, "Oh, it's Parkinson's or dementia."
Yeah.
If that can be picked up earlier or sooner, and they can find what's going on in the brain sooner with a scan or a functional MRI or something similar, I think they'll be on the right track. But it's just a matter of, I think, finding what is going on in the brain, but they don't have a baseline to go by. So it's usually it's progressed to a point where they're seeing dysfunction, but they don't know what it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. Have you ever done a gene test on yourself? Because it's something I really want to do, and I've not done it yet. But have you ever done a gene test on yourself to understand your gene expression? Are you fascinated by that too? Would you do that?
Oh, look, that was one of the questions I asked when I started seeing a therapist. And when I was diagnosed with McGrave's disease, and my thyroid hormone levels were all over the place, and then the PTSD, I've gone, well, can I get some blood tests? And they said, oh, we'll check your cortisol levels. And they said, well, we got nothing to compare it to. So my cortisol levels would have been like sky high, but I didn't have a baseline, so I didn't know. Yeah. But yeah, it intrigues me, to see where I'm at. So I've had hundreds of blood tests for over the last 4 years. Yeah. But yeah, I'd love to get another more detailed and extensive test done.
Yeah, me too. And because I think that will really give, especially our young people, I want to get a gene test done on my 2 children just so I can give them a roadmap for life. You know, if they've got certain genes that could be switched on based on how they live their life, that might, increase the chances of, I don't know, cancer or Alzheimer's, like you mentioned before. If we can give them that roadmap to reduce that, what's the gene called for Alzheimer's? Is APOE? APOE, is it? I think it's APOE. And if you have the strand 4, if you've got 2 of the 4, if you've got 2 strands and it's the number 4, don't quote me on that. But you're increasing your chances, and I don't know the percentage, by a huge amount of Alzheimer's, depending on how you live your life in terms of food and things like that. I think that's really powerful stuff if we can give them that roadmap.
The other part of why I studied epigenetics was for that. We have the genes we have, but does that determine we get what our parents had or what our grandparents had?
Yeah.
Does our environment and our own mindset and the way we look after our bodies through fitness and nutrition and all of that, can we alter the genes so we turn off the disease gene and turn on the healthy gene?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Fascinating stuff. I think it's powerful stuff. I really do. I think that's, again, high blood pressure is an example, isn't it? It runs in the family. The doctors always say, does it run in the family? Yeah. Oh, well, then you're going to have it. Sorry. No, just because they've got it doesn't mean I have to have it. Right. Anyway, let's get back to you, Gav, because that's powerful, and we've gone off on a tangent, and I love it. And that's what the podcast is all about, going off, because somebody will be able to take something away from that for sure. Even if they just dig a little bit deeper into the ground so they can find something that will suit them. Let's go to your early life then, Gav. Where did you grow up in Australia?
Okay, born in Sydney. And then when I was young and about 2, we moved to Adelaide for a couple of years. And then moved back to Sydney again with my dad's work. Then when I was 11, we moved to Singapore for 3.5 years. So that was pretty cool. It was a culture shock initially, but huge experience. Learned so much about different nationalities and the different cultures and all sorts of things. So played American football while I was there, so it was pretty cool. That's what that picture is up there.
Oh yeah, very cool. Love that. Did it take you?
And then 3.5 years there, I was about 14-ish, 15, and came back to Melbourne. Been here ever since.
Did you get comfortable with the uncomfortable then, being put in those different situations?
Yeah, as a kid, we adapt a lot quicker. The one thing I look back and enjoyed it all, but I look back that I don't have a circle of friends I grew up with that's still here. So it was always made friends and had to move on and make new friends and move on and make new friends and move on. So it was a bit kind of transient, I suppose, from that perspective.
So the main core of people, I'm guessing, were they you ones in Sydney, or was it?
No, no.
No.
So even those in Melbourne, and I don't know, and then this is part of what I was talking about earlier about whether my subconscious has gone, well, that's what we do. Every 3 or 4 years we move. Don't make too close to friendships because you'll be moving again. And that may be a program that's running in my mind. Yeah.
That's interesting, that, isn't it? And that's the reason why we talk a little bit about childhood in the episode. If there's nothing necessarily related to some trauma in the childhood, it's really important that we still discuss it, because usually, even if you have a beautiful childhood, that paints a picture of why certain decisions were made down the track, right? And that just nailed it right there. I mean, did you have a good childhood? Was childhood good for you? Were you moving around?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh look, yeah, like had everything we needed and good home, good school. We always had clothes and fed, and childhood was no issues at all. It's just environment and circumstances, and we all have different things that appear at different times as we grow up.
Where did life lead then after school for you?
Oh, school. I didn't go to uni. I thought, no, I've had enough of study. School was something I didn't really enjoy that much. I went out and got my first job in the bank, as a lot of people did, as their first job. Kind of got to a point where I couldn't go any further there, and ended up in an environment I never thought I would. It was in the wine and spirits industry, and working for a wholesale distributor. Ended up as a sales cadet there, and then went right through to being a sales rep. So there was a company takeover, and had to leave there because they had their own salespeople coming in, and then was a bit unsure what I wanted to do, and having a chat with a mate, and he said, join the police force. And I said, what? Totally left field, came in, and I've gone, oh, we'll see what happens. So I put my application in, and 3 months later, I was in the police force. Yeah, it was fast tracked. It happened so quick.
So there's that 3-4 year period again, isn't it?
Yep.
Like 2 or 3 times there as well.
Pretty much.
So banks, wine industry, sales, and then straight. How old are you at this point when you enter the police? Around 25-ish?
27, 28.
Ah, okay. So 25 was probably the wine sales area then.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. God, it does paint a picture, doesn't it? I'm glad we mentioned that now.
Yes.
So you entered the police force, and when you entered that, was it, again, is it a shock going from bank to the sales industry, then not sales? It's either being preventative or very reactive, isn't it? How was the police for you initially?
Interesting. I wasn't sure what to expect, but within the first few weeks, I felt really at home and comfortable. I thought, this is me. Going through the whole training, and back in when was that? 94? Yeah, 1994. Yep. The recruit training back then was very, very different to what it is now. It was. You were prepared for what you're going to experience when you actually graduated and got out in the street. Which I loved. Like, it was challenging mentally, physically, all of that. So,
If you'd spoken to the younger Gav, that 15-year-old Gav, would he have laughed in your face that you're in the police force?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There was a moment when I was at school, and I went to one day a week, I was going to do a TAFE course as part of my school curriculum. Walked in the TAFE one day, and there was the Air Force recruiters, and they were trying to get people to sign up to go to the Air Force. And I grabbed the papers and I hung onto it, and I never filled it out, because the thing that stopped me was I couldn't handle that discipline. I said to myself, nah, I don't want people telling me what to do, how to do it, when to do it. And I thought, nah, I'm going to rebel and I'll get into trouble. Yeah. So that was about that age. So for me to go from that and 12, 13 years later to go, I'm in the police force, a bit of a change, but we mature and we grow and develop.
That's right. So if I understand the police force, you do general duties for a first few years, and then you kind of, is it the same for you back then in the 90s? Do you then choose a path which way you want to go?
Yeah. So minimum 2 years general duties. So that's just working the normal station van and sedans, and then you can choose where you go. So you apply for whatever, either transfer to another unit, or if it's via application, you apply for a particular role.
Nice. Which room? Where did you first decide to go then?
I ended up from general duties, I went to traffic for a little while.
Oh, that'd been interesting.
Yeah, boring.
Oh,
Not my thing.
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, no, not my thing. Look, it was good to get some of the qualifications and get your high-speed licenses and all that stuff. But as far as the role itself, yeah, it's the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Pulling cars over for speeding or whatever it might be, seat belts, etc. So, yeah, no.
Can you stay in general duties? Let's say you don't want to choose a particular path. Can you stay in general duties if you want
Oh,
your whole?
absolutely.
Oh, you can.
Yep.
Yeah. I just
Yep.
wasn't sure, to be honest.
It's probably one of the hardest roles in the police force because you are literally the first responder to everything, and you're getting pulled from pillar to post. So in any given shift, you could start the shift with 5 jobs. Then as you start to head to one job, you get another one, and then you get another 2, and that just mounts up. So it's hard yakky. You just don't get a break or get a reprieve. It's just constant. So which is why most don't stay there for very long. Or if they'll do, they might go general duties to somewhere else for a break. They might come back on promotion to get that promotion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough gig, first responders.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how you guys do it, to be honest. I've got to ask you how to explain something. I don't know if you remember this scenario when we did our pre-chat, but on my notes, it's asking me to ask you how to explain how to ask a friend if it's okay. Does that bring any memories back to you?
How to ask a friend if it's okay?
Yeah. So I've gotten in my notes, ask Gavin to explain how to ask a friend if it's okay. Explain that you gave last time was on law, asking how do you approach a friend if they are okay. Do you remember that at all?
Oh, okay. Yes.
And it was quite an interesting bit. I've actually forgotten what we mentioned, but I remember it being interesting, and I had to ask you.
Yeah. So this is if you noticed, and it could be anyone, but if someone you know reasonably well, if their mood changes or they're normally very bright and bubbly, or they're social and they visit or call or text, or you're in contact regularly, if anything is a slight change, something may be going on in their life, and it's more to check in with them. And some people are really uncomfortable. What do I say? How do I say it? Mm-hmm. It is difficult. From man to man, it's probably more difficult. It's just not something we're used to doing. There is one thing that you can ask if you know the person reasonably well. On a scale of 1 to 10, how is your mental health right now? Because it's not a yes/no answer. They have to process it and think about it. And then the first answer they give, don't accept it, because it will be almost like a throwaway line. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm all good. No worries. No. What number are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Ask that second time, and then it sinks in a little deeper.
I'm going to write that down. I think that's powerful as shit. I really powerful as a good thing. That's really powerful.
Yeah. There is another one that is a little softer, that is more familiar for people. And it's along the lines of, it's not how are you doing or are you okay? Because that is a very throwaway kind of line, and that is the easy one for people to go, I'm okay, I'm fine, no worries. It is, how are you coping?
Yeah.
And there again, don't accept the first answer. Ask again. No, I really mean, how are you coping? Because it just opens up. It's not a yes/no response they can give.
It's so true. When we leave them just to answer however they feel fit, we don't get what we need. It's not about what we need, but we don't we don't fully understand, do we?
Yep.
It's powerful. Yeah, yeah, so simple, isn't it? And when you say it, it's like, yeah, that makes total sense, but nobody does it.
No,
Yeah,
no. And look, there's lots of different things out there that are getting spoken about. Are you okay day? It's a great sentiment and fully for it.
yeah. I know what you're going to say.
But part of the training we go through mentoring men is how to approach some of those subjects with the mentees we speak to, and noticing little subtle changes with them and asking very open questions: the who, what, when, where, how, and why.
Yeah,
Rather, and you can roll them off. How did you go the other day? What happened? Who upset you? And it opens up conversation.
yeah. I know, it's so powerful. Yeah, and people can take that away from today for sure. Yeah, I love it. I'm going to put that on my whiteboard because I need to remember. Because I'm programmed, right? I'm programmed not to ask that question. I'm programmed to do what you just said, right? And
Yep.
I need to myelinate that in my head.
Yep.
Because I have a few friends going through some stuff, and one of them, I won't say it on here just in case he does listen. He's never told me he listens, but just in case he does, he will know it's him. Otherwise, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
But it's
Because in Australia, it's, I think, very, very, the most common one is, how you going?
yes, it is.
And it is just a general welcome for most of the time. But that's what we say. And what's the usual response? How you going? Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah.
Yep, no worries, all good.
Us English like to say, "Are you all right?" And you Aussies think, "Why is this guy asking me if I'm okay?" But that's that's us saying, "Hey, how are you? Hey, you're all right." For your journey then, where did it all start to? Because in my journey the cracks started in emails, and I didn't even notice the cracks. It was my partner who saw the cracks. For you, where did it all start to kind of go wrong then in the workplace? Right, start from the top.
Yeah, it was very subtle. I didn't notice it at the start.
Yeah,
But it was when we had, so I got promoted to sergeant within the training unit. So it was a brand new training unit where we were going to train people, general duties, how to use high-powered rifles. So it was, we had to write the course. There was no previous course. So we had to write the course, design the training package, find locations. The weapon was being selected and tested. That was out of our scope, but we had to find out the staff mix. So there was so much. And my role was a sergeant to deliver the training package. It wasn't to design the course. It wasn't to do all the other ancillary stuff. And looking back, it was when I was asked to do some things that I had no idea what they were on a project management side of things. Someone said the actual project person that kind of self-appointed to the unit manager, she was a public servant and had no policing experience at all, and kind of fell into the role and had no leadership training, no police knowledge. So it was, looking back, that was the start of it. And I was asked to do some certain roles, and I've got no idea. I'm not a project manager person at all. I have no idea how to do this. And then it just, kind of snowballed from there. And then we had a discussion about the staff mix, and we would have preferred so many more sworn police members and fewer public servants, but they wanted a mix of both, which is unusual for the police force. Then the interview process and the selection process, it was 50-50, which wasn't going to work, we felt, but we weren't listened to. That was then part of our knowledge, experience and previous workplaces weren't taken into account. So the trust started to drop off as well. Then unfortunately, I don't think the people who ran the interviews have done many interviews, because then the people that were selected weren't right for the roles. Their work ethic, their attitude, and then once they started, my role was to onboard them, give them all the do's and don'ts, and this is how we're going to do things. And then we had to train them to be instructors. Some had never been an instructor before. So it was all brand new. Everything was brand new, which I love a challenge, and that would have been great. But if those other things had been happening the right way, and even the unit structure of having the right ranks in the right position for reporting purposes, even that was not in the right format. So really early on, the dysfunction started, and then it just got worse. And then it was when COVID was kind of hitting, and I don't blame COVID for affecting the work unit. It is what it was. But I think having some downtime allowed them to then get in their own minds, and then personality types tend to stick together. And then it kind of manifested.
You had two stints in the police, didn't you?
Yep.
Let's go back to the first stint. Why did you leave the police the first time?
It was a marriage breakup and a separation. And at that point had 2 young children, 2 girls.
Is this the picture you sent me, by the way? Or they're not your children, are they? No, they're not. You sent me a picture of some children, but I don't know who they are. But that won't be your daughters, because I've just looked.
Oh, no, I know who that is. No, that's not
I'll
that
leave
one.
that one down here. Sorry.
Okay. And looking back, I don't regret resigning, because the shift work was going to be difficult for me to still have fair input into their lives and growing up, and having some input into how they turned out as adults. So I thought, the best way to do that is have a normal job, not shift work all over the place, so I could have some decent time with them every weekend or second weekend, etc. So I don't regret it, but what I look now back, if I'd spoken to my bosses and said, listen, this is my personal situation, is there another role I can do Monday to Friday that will allow me to look after my kids for a few years?
Hindsight's a beautiful thing, isn't it? With that stint then, in that period of time in the police before you left, was there any, did you have a good experience in the police, or was there workplace bullying in the police at that point, or was it just quite smooth sailing? It was purely for personal reasons?
Just personal reasons, yeah. Look, I had other goals and other areas I wanted to go and work at. One of them was the Major Collision Investigation Unit. They investigate the serious fatal car crashes involving criminal negligence, etc. So I'd actually done some temporary duties there, and I was sort of on the path to head there when all this happened. So pretty much turned my back on that, and left the job.
How long were you out of the police for at that point then?
That was about 4 years. And then I ended up actually getting my own business, which was a Snap-on Tools franchise.
Here's that 3-4 year gap again.
It is, I tell you.
Right, it really is.
Yep.
So you entered back into the police force.
That was not my intention.
No. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What made you get back into it then?
I fell into it, literally. When I started thinking, okay, well, I wanted to sell the Snap-on business. I thought, okay, well, what I'm going to do, and looking around, couldn't find the right role, or didn't really want to work in someone else's company. And I saw a job advertised for the federal police. They were trying to get former police members as a pool to select them to go to represent Australia in the United Nations at places like Solomon Islands, East Timor, where there was a bit of unrest, and they needed law enforcement, and they also needed previous knowledge to help the locals and train them up to be their police. And they couldn't keep calling on the local police here in Australia. So actually sat an interview for that, and the guy said to me, I could give you a job right here, right now. But he said, unfortunately, the federal government are probably going to pull the funding. So he said, we don't think this is going to go ahead. And it didn't. But what he did say was, listen, if you join Victoria Police again and get some skills in these areas, when it when and if it comes up again, he said, just apply. And he said, you'll pretty much slot straight in. So I thought, well, okay. So I did that, and that never happened.
And how old were your children back at this point? Because obviously you left because of the children. How old are you at this point, and did it affect your life in that regard?
It was easier because they were sort of getting to the early teenager years. So it was easier to manage. And I was very, very conscious of, because the role I selected, that was one of the first specialist units I ended up going to, the critical incident team. And because of the nature of the work, I thought, oh, is that going to be unfair on them when they think, oh shit, dad's in danger every time he goes to work? Higher risk. Yep, absolutely. But I actually was always conscious of speaking to them on the level that they could understand and process it. So I was always upfront and honest with them, and got their honest feedback and thoughts on it as well. So
Yeah.
I look back now and I'm glad I did that, and so are they.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So the beginning of your journey, if I remember correctly, the rifle journey, the rifle unit, you were in charge of. I mean, you're in charge of a big project there, weren't you?
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that, because that was huge.
Massive project. So it's the first time that general duties police were going to be given a different weapon system, and let alone when it was a high-powered rifle. So the government at the time, the state government at the time, had said to police command, we want a certain number of general duties police to be armed with these rifles. Here's the charter for the project, and here's your bucket of money, which was huge, massive budget for it. And we want this number of police trained by this date. So it was nearly 800 police. We had to get trained within, I can't remember the time frame now. It was a short time frame. It was going to be really, really tight to do it.
When you say short, what, 6 months, a year, 2 years?
12 months, just over.
Yeah, wow.
At that stage, we had no staff, no course, no nothing. So that included writing and designing everything, getting the staff, then training the staff to be instructors who'd never been instructors. So there was a lot of work to get it kicked off.
And that goes back to that interview process that you just mentioned earlier, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there was a few problems that lay with the foundations of writing that program as well, wasn't there? Because you were writing it, what was that team environment like during that time?
Yeah, that wasn't very pleasant.
No, I bet.
So the structure was meant to be 3 sergeants, and we were meant to be the sergeants to deliver the training, so to oversee the instructors and the students and oversee the training package. But turns out, as I said, we had to write it all, which we didn't mind, and it was a good experience to write it, because then we could just go, all right, well, we get to say what it is and do it the right way. Yeah. We actually had a lot of research to go off, the FBI rifle weapon systems courses, Interpol, Scotland Yard. We flew to New Zealand and went to their academy, because they'd had rifles for quite a few years, to see how they train their recruits. So we got all these worldwide courses. Then we sat down and went, all right, well, what do we want to do and how do we want to do it? This is where the accelerated learning comes in. And we were writing state-of-the-art gold standard training. So we could take someone who was terrified of a rifle on Monday and have them trained, competent and confident by the Wednesday night, Thursday morning.
Wow.
And not just being able to move the gun, but to process decision-making. We'd run scenarios to be able to, process everything and go, okay, 1, do I need to get the gun out? 2, how do I load it and get it ready? And 3, then actually deploy it. So, but unfortunately, there was a run-in with one of the sergeants and at that time the unit manager, and he said, I can't handle this, I'm out, see ya. And he walked, wasn't replaced.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the other sergeant, he was having some run-ins with her as well, and so that meant we were two of us doing job of three, still writing the courses and all that. And then he had a run-in, and he said, "I can't stay here." He said, "This is just too unbearable." So he transferred out for I think it was about a month or two. But then he was allowed to come back because he realised how good he had it at our unit.
Wow.
But they let him back in, and I go, "Well, how can I trust him now? And how can the management trust him?" It was a bit awkward, very awkward situation. And then it was his choice, but instead of being the sergeant and taking a role as the sergeant and the supervisor, whatever the staff and the subordinates would ask and say, he would say yes to everything. So we call it yes man.
Yeah.
So I'm come from the specialist units where that's not on. You don't do that.
Yeah.
And there's a reason you do what you do. And then I would give guys instructions or directions, and they just ignore me, and then go off to him going, "What do you want me to do?" So yeah, they was sergeant shopping, and it just eroded my responsibility and basically the decision making as a leader. So
Why do you think they ignored you then?
because I was trying to set the standard that it should have been.
Well, Gavin's story doesn't end here, and neither does the darkness. Tomorrow we're back with part 2, where Gavin reveals the devastating toll that took on his mental health. The PTSD, the anxiety, the masks he wore every single day just to survive. Something I did. Anyway. But we're also going to explore something powerful, how he found his way back, the lessons he learned, and the purpose he discovered in the wreckage. Before that, join me for Tuesday Truths, where I'll break down the red flags we all need to recognise before it's too late. It's going to be little snippets of both conversations of today and part 2 on Wednesday. If Gavin's story is hitting home, you're not alone. Share this episode, leave a review, and let's keep this conversation going, because silence protects the bullies, and we're done with being silent. This is Leading Our Own Way. We'll see you then. Join us tomorrow to hear more from today's incredible guests and learn valuable insights to help you lead your own way. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you then.